So I just wanted to turn it over to Go Harrison, Cary Harrison from the Go Harrison Show on KPFK, who has really been instrumental in getting the message out about this film and this movement.
Thank you, Diaki. And I am the instrumental. Thank you. I just want to tell you just a little bit about, while KPFK has been very supportive, they are really not supportive, nor are they unsupportive. And the lesson here, the take-home lesson that I'd like to present, is that we contribute each in our own particular special ways. In short, there's a radio station here, and I mean, I could play jazz music all day, and they'd say, great, right? And I'd say, or I can present the Zeitgeist movement, and they say, great. You know, we have an FCC license, your job is to get more listeners and do a good job. And I get to choose, let's see, jazz music or Save the World, right? So that's how they support. So we don't want to sort of look to them as though they're the grown-ups in the adult supervision after whom we have to curry favor and hope they will do. No, they don't do shit, frankly. They just provide what we call a terrestrial signal, which is huge. It happens to be the strongest FM west of the Mississippi. So for us, right. So you and I together have decided in collusion that we're going to take this signal and use it in some way that actually goes somewhere. So I'm going to up the game for you right here, right now. We're going to take the show that I'm doing. We're actually going to restore it to a name that I used when I was on Air America for 3 years. We had the show, it was called Harrison on the Edge. And we're going to bring it back in afternoons. We're going to bring it to San Francisco. We're going to bring it to Denver, Colorado. We're going to bring it to Portland, Oregon. And we're going to talk exactly on a daily basis, Monday through Friday, 3 to 6 p.m. about this shit. We're going to have open phone lines so that people from...
To just use the S word, and you really have to talk to Jacques, because he's that your show officially has to begin with Jacques saying, this shit's got to stop.
Golly gosh, business has to stop. And we're going to open up the phone lines for the people of Earth, right? We're going to use modern, normal, mainstream technology, which means that somebody in Isfahan can Skype in to the show, so that we're no longer tethered to the technology of 1953, which is what an FM radio station is. I mean, they had it back then. But when KPFK started, by the way, a guy named Lou Hill literally handed out FM radios to people in the late 1950s and said, what the hell is this? Well, you turn the knob here. There was nothing on FM, nothing, except us, right? And now it is the mainstream, but it is still using archaic technology. How did most of you hear about the Zeitgeist movement? Through Mr. Bush's internets, right? Remember, he had multiple, the internets, a series of tubes, right? That's how you heard about it, not from tuning in FM or AM, right? So what we're going to do is combine all of this stuff and get the word out. Now, again, there isn't, in my opinion only, there isn't one right way. There is the way that you are able. We take a look at a fellow in the front row here, Sean Holohan. His great-grandfather helped design the Titanic. Well, in a good way. But Sean is an extraordinary designer. That's kind of the point. So you don't want me designing your car. You don't want me designing your movement. But there's stuff that I can do within it for which I have particular passion. So each of you, we may all say, you know, we all need to march. Well, some of you may not be good marchers, but you may be really good at handwriting a letter in ways the rest of us would suck. So you are the superstar in that particular thing. So each of us figures out, what is our passion? What are we good at? How do we see this thing actually unfolding? Where's the end game? And how can I personally contribute to that and make A connect to B in ways that Timmy cannot, right? Although Timmy's really good at something else. And this way we're not constantly trying to sort of upstage or compete or figure out how we fit in. Because at the end of the day, looking at the Zeitgeist movement actually working, where we do have a resource-based economy, you know, some of us get spooked. Are we all supposed to be clones? I mean, it sounds like all the individuality is taken away and we all robotically eat apples at 3 o'clock, right? I mean, this is some of the concerns that people have. And that's not what people are talking about. It's about using your own personal craft, the gifts that you have. What is talent? Talent is something you may not have known you had, but the universe gave it to you. Some people can play the piano. You don't want me playing your piano, trust me on that one. But some people can sit down at this keyboard, and the black one over here, and this one, and it's a D minor. They understand that shit. They can read this weird hieroglyphic business on paper and turn it into Chopin's military polonaise. Well, we should pick a different one, but you know, a nice etude, right? And yet I could do something entirely different. I could sit and talk for 3 straight hours without a script. And many of you would fucking kill yourself in 3 hours, right over there, talk. You'd hate it, right? So each of us has this thing that we learn and discover along the line, and we get to help each other cultivate that particular skill and add that into the movement. Now the movement is alive. Now it's on fire. Now every single molecule and atom is vibrating, it's agitating with ways in which it can perfectly well contribute. Because you know what your thing is. I don't know what it is. You know what that is. We get to help each other develop it. And then we've got a vibrant community of amazing, sparkling talent, and this thing turns out the way. And you get to be 100% full superstar participant, and not somebody who has to learn how to imitate the other guy who you think or was told that can really do it well. You're the only one that knows how. So I just want to give you permission to jump off the high dive into your own unique talent, and that's what you get to contribute. So there. I also want to throw in a quickie little political message here, because I happen to be that way. We have going on in Japan right now such hideosity. Really, I mean, in anybody's lifetime, have we ever seen multiple issues like that? We have 3 or 4 nuclear reactors now where the Japanese government is telling people, well, run, you know? One of them is right at the cusp of meltdown. You know, if you know how a nuclear reactor works, if you don't have water to cool the thing down, it gets uncool. And it acts uncool, and it reacts. And when you get a meltdown, we're talking about a serious potential Chernobyl. And when you look at an earthquake in Japan and a tsunami, that we were getting our own warnings here all up and down the California coast, right? We saw Crescent City, people died there from tidal surges from Japan. So if a nuclear power plant melts down there, there's going to be some serious critical fallout. We have 2 plants here within our area codes, close enough by we can drive to them in an hour. We have Diablo Canyon and we have San Onofre. Both are built on seismic faults, right? So when we talk about the survival of humankind, we also might want to come to the present day and realize that these 2 plants are up for licensing renewal. And you and I are in a unique position right now to impede that. Because I don't know about you, but this perfectly clean, safe stuff is the scariest shit that's ever been developed. After the first atomic bombs and Fat Man Little Boy, as they were called, the Manhattan Project, and we twice bombed Japan, right? Nagasaki and Hiroshima, which the death toll ended up being well over 300,000, right? And the gene pool has been permanently altered there because of the radiation and the fallout. After doing that, the guys who created the atomic bombs, whether it was, Niels Bohr, whether it was Albert Einstein, whether it was any of the people, they all got together and afterwards said, we can never allow this to happen. And at this point, the Cold War had started. At this point, we were in full-on competition with the Russians and early on with the Chinese. And one of the things that they decided to do was show military might. And so we continued, and Eisenhower created something called Atoms for Peace. And you had to convince the American public that the scariest thing ever developed on Earth, that the smartest man ever to live in anybody's lifetime, Albert Einstein, said, I will have nothing to do with this, and I will devote the rest of my natural life to peace and dismantling the nuclear movement. So the federal government comes up with Atoms for Peace because there's a huge military-industrial complex about to be born. So if you look back, you can Google these amazing images from the 1950s, atomic cars, right? And they look like big Oldsmobiles with wings, right? And we were all, it's like the Jetsons. This is the future. And it was very sexy, and it was very appealing to people. And so you had to come up with ways to use atomic power. So they came up with nuclear power plants. Now, many of us think that a nuclear power plant actually makes electricity. It doesn't. What it is a contained thermonuclear explosion, 24 hours a day, that never stops. It gets so hot, that they put a pan of water on top of it, and the water boils. And it creates steam, like the late 1800s. And the steam, like a choo-choo train, turns a turbine, which makes electricity. So it is a multi-billion-dollar thermonuclear water boiler built on seismic faults, right? General Electric, the largest weapons manufacturer on Earth, controls 103 of them on U.S. soil. When was the last time on NBC, owned by General Electric, you saw a story of nuclear power being problems, right? So I just want to throw in as a beautiful parenthetical statement that right now with what is going on in Japan, which may affect us, infect us, possibly, we have a chance to at least start to dismantle some of the things that are in the way to our future, to a zeitgeist movement. I'm not sure what the official position is on nuclear power with the zeitgeist movement, but I'm guessing many of these guys don't want to probably go surfing into San Onofre if they can help it. So just sort of be aware of current events as well. I love the future myself, but I also can't live in too far ahead, and I have to also pay attention to today and dot the I's and cross the T's. So I will end simply by saying we are so thrilled you're here. We recognize the incredible talent and the courage simply to show up for something like this. We had a couple of big movie stars that were here at the screening earlier. When I pulled up and parked, I parked next to a huge sheriff's 18-wheeler pickup truck. And I'm not sure why they need vehicles like Hummers, but they tell me they have a plan and I'm incapable of understanding it. But I parked next to it with my peace symbols. It was my little motion to vote yes for that. So we have our little ways of expression. We're so glad you're here. And just remember, the elevator goes up from here. By virtue of the fact that you have shown up, you are participating in a movement that is going forward, not backward. You are part of the solution, not part of the problem. And you can put your head on the pillow tonight knowing that you are propelling the other Earthlings forward in a way that is going to be very salient, very solution-oriented. You're going to get to have fun, too. Imagine eating non-genetically modified food. Does anyone remember what a carrot tastes like? I know. They're kind of small when they grow out of the ground. That's okay. You can have two. So that's what we're looking forward to in the future. I want you to join me on the radio anytime. We're going to be launching this new show in the next probably month or so. Best thing for you to do is just go to our website, goharrison.com, one word, goharrison.com, and stay in touch with us and know that your voice will be heard, that the Zeitgeist voice will be heard in front of millions of people who may not have known about it the day before. But that's because you showed up, that's because you are listening to them, they are listening to you, and you're available for people. Unlike most other movements, most people don't show up. Just send us an email and check, right? So this is really cool. This is the real deal, and this is how it's done. So thanks for having me here, and back to Diaki.